Hey book friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my October wrap up. I don't know what happened in October. I just got sucked into so many books and so many of them just read so fast. I had to know what was going to happen in all of these books. And I read 15 books. You guys, 15 books. And one of them was like 1,000 pages. I don't have any words. Actually, I'm going to have lots of words because I have a lot to tell you about all of these books. So let's just hop into the wrap up because it might take a while. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome or welcome back. Like I said, we have lots of books to cover in this wrap up video, but I have lots of opinions and you guys, I've read some amazing books. So many 5 stars. I'm looking at my stack here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the books that I did not read for vlogs because I actually happened to get up 2 reading vlogs in October. And I will obviously link them above so you can go see more in-depth thoughts because I did one that was a 2025 new releases as well as my second installment of my romance project series. So I will link those above, but I'll talk about those at the end month. I'm going to start with what I'm most excited to talk about. Well, okay, there's a lot of things I'm excited to talk about, but I love this series. You guys, I don't know why, but this series landed for me. Side note, I thought it was a duology until I was about like 75 pages from the end of the second book and I'm like, there's no way. Then I Googled it and it's supposed to be a trilogy. The first book being The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owens, which I did do a reread of. I was planning on just looking up some sort of recap, but I just decided to read it instead because I just love it so much. And I actually highly recommend rereading this book before going into this book for reasons. For reasons that I can't quite say because I don't want to give away too much of this book, but you will definitely appreciate this book more if you remember specifically the order in which things happen in this book. That's as much as I'm going to say without trying to give too much away. So in case you did not read this book last year, which I think it came out last year, this is a trials book. It's a trials romantasy that has to do with our main character of Lyra. And Lyra is an orphan. She works for this thieving crime organization. And early on in the book, we learn that she has been cursed by the god Zeus, which the Greek gods are very much involved in this book because they run this games and trials called the Crucible every 100 years in order to pick a new leader of the gods. And in order to figure out who that's going to be, they each pick a human contestant to compete in these brutal, deadly games. Now, our main character of Lyra ends up being picked by Hades, the god of death. I love this first book for the trials. The trials were so good. The romance in here was good as well. There is a bit of insta-lovey kind of stuff. It didn't bug me at all. I just really liked their chemistry. Now, that plays a big role in this book. And I don't want to say more other than just believe me when I say there are major reasons why it had to be written in that way. I am more of a slow burn person. The fact that this wasn't necessarily slow burn, I mean, it kind of was. I mean, there's not a ton of spice by any means. The spice doesn't happen until near the end, sort of idea. So it's not insta-love in that way. There's some more trial type things in this book. It's different. It's definitely not a repeat or a second installment of the Crucible sort of idea. It's different. It's so good. I'm going to put it down before I say something that would spoil it for you guys. What else did I love? I loved this book. So I read Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this book, but I wanted to read it during this time of year because it is very atmospheric. And Alex E. Harrow is known for atmospheric writing. I really loved Once and Future Witches. I didn't so much love 10,000 Doors of January, so I was kind of hit or miss with this author. But this has to do with our main character of Opal. Opal and her brother are orphans. Now, at the beginning of this book, she is old enough to support her brother in a way, sort of. They lost their mom when they were both pretty much teenagers and they had to fly under the radar of the system in order to stay together and to stay in this room at this hotel, still going to school, still kind of scraping by. And the town that they live in is a little bit strange and peculiar. There's lots of accidents. There's lots of bad things that happen. There's this fog thing that happens that nobody understands. And then there's this house, the Starling House, and it is very mysterious. Nobody ever gets past the gates. It's very magical, but yet our main character of Opal is drawn to this house and she always has been. And so due to a series of events, she actually becomes the housekeeper or the house cleaner of this house, and she starts working for Arthur Starling. He's very strange and there's strange things that happen, and I don't want to say more than that because it's actually not that long of a book, but I really liked it. I liked the main story, which I don't want to get too far into because the synopsis doesn't really say much about what is happening in the house, but I like that. I like the house. The house is a bit of a character, which is always fun and interesting when the house has personality, if you will. So I liked that. I liked the relationship because this has a bit of a relationship. Now, don't hear me as this is a romance book or even close. It has a plot thread of romance and relationship, but I think it enhanced what was going on with our characters and what they were up against. So I liked it. I actually ended up giving this 5 stars, and it came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't expecting this to be a 5-star book for me, but it was. It was so much fun. These 2 were also 5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that. Probably by how I was talking about it, you could have figured that out. So I recently picked this up. I was so very curious about Bridget Kimmerer. She usually writes YA. I love her Defy the Night series. I read that earlier this year and I just devoured it. Like, I read all 3 books and I really enjoyed it. And so I was just curious what she was going to do in the adult space. So she wrote Warrior, Princess, Assassin. It's book 1 in I think what will be a trilogy. And it definitely does set the stage. There are things happening in this book because it has to do with 3 characters. A warrior king from a neighboring territory, has to do with a princess, and it has to do with an assassin who happens to be our princess's childhood best friend, sort of idea. Now, at the beginning of this book, she is being promised to the warrior king in marriage. Like, it's an arranged marriage. She's kind of freaked out because he has a reputation that is very violent. So in this world, there is magic. He has like a fire type magic. Her family or her dad has like a weather type magic. And so the arranged marriage here is important for both countries. But what he doesn't realize is that she doesn't have the magic and her father is dying, but yet they're still going to go through this marriage, right? Until they find out that there has been like a hit put on both of them, the king and the princess. And our assassin is the one who has been given like the letters to murder them, basically, whatever that's called. In a quickly hatched plot, they try to figure out how they can escape this kingdom with both of them alive, basically. So it starts this like group of 3 as they're trying to like figure things out and escape or whatever. What I liked about it is I did like our characters. I liked our characters a lot. I do want to mention the fact that this is definitely adult. There is trauma, some serious trauma in one of our characters' backstories that I didn't quite see coming, and it is just very awful and sad. And so maybe check some trigger warnings. It wasn't like super graphic by any means. It was just alluding to his past, and you're just like, that is awful and terrible. Now, I had also heard this book categorized as polyamorous, which I had to look that word up. I understood basically what it was, but I needed to understand kind of what it was in terms of like books. Because it's not necessarily like a why choose. It's an everybody loves everybody sort of situation, which is what I kind of thought. And I have not read a book like that. I really did love the characters. If I didn't like the characters as much as I did, I wouldn't have been okay with that section. But even so, it wasn't my favorite aspect. I really think I tend to lean more towards like a love triangle, honestly, where she ends up picking one as opposed to everybody loves everybody. So I'd say that's probably not a trope that I love, to be honest, but I did really like our characters. And so I gave the book a 4-star, and I will definitely be moving on in the series. As long as the plot stays with what's going on kind of politically speaking, I think I could like it. If it becomes all about the romance, I might not continue, but so far so good. So this book I had chosen for my TBR University. It's been on my shelves for a number of fall TBRs. And that was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. I have not read anything by this author. And every time I had picked this book up, I just didn't understand what it was about. I get it more now. It's about our main character of Elspeth. And now she has a secret. And that secret is that she has a monster in her head. Like, she has somebody who talks to her take over a bit at times. It's a little complicated. This is a world of magic, and the magic comes out in these tarot cards, and each card has like magical abilities. So if that person has the card on them, say it's the invisibility one, they just have to like tap the card and they become invisible. And a lot of what was happening here is that our main character, as well as the group of people she gets associated with, like this band of vigilantes, so to speak, are trying to collect the entire deck in order to kind of reset some things in this world. I really enjoyed the atmosphere of this book. I loved the writing style. I love the magic. I love the relationships between this kind of group of people who are coming together. And there was a romance, which I did like. I wouldn't say that it totally swept me away, but again, it is book 1 of 2. So I plan on moving on to book 2. I'm not sure if their romance will continue too much more. I have heard that there's a secondary romance that happens in book 2, but I enjoyed this book. It was a very good time. Perfect atmospheric book. 4 stars is I think what I ended up giving it. So like I said, 5 stars, 4 stars. I've had such a good month. I read this for my reading challenge, always linked down below. Hopefully I will be getting the 2026 challenge up and running here soon. But we read A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is such a strange book. Like, one of the people on my Discord group said it was like listening to her 5-year-old describe a nightmare that he had. And I was like, that is such a great description of this book because it is so very hard to understand. This school is full of monsters that can hop out of different places, that like hide under the tables, that hide in the vents, and they attack the students. And the job of the students is to like survive this school. There's no teachers. Their assignments are kind of like magically given to them from the school. And so on one hand, you'd be like, well, why are they at this school? It's because I guess the monsters are also outside of the school. And these monster things really like this age group, like the adults, once they become adults, they're a little bit more protected or a little less targeted by these monsters. And so they're at the school for protection reasons. And they have to form these alliances, and our main character is a bit of a recluse. Like, she does not engage with other people. Honestly, her character and personality was quite off-putting at times. She was so mean and snarky to so many people who, some of them were trying to help her. Some were not. Like, I feel like she had a very jaded approach to the world. That got a little bit better as our book went on. I really liked it, and I really didn't like it. Like, there were so many parts about it that I was like, meh, it's okay. Like, this is so confusing. And I'm okay usually with a confusing book. So that might be why it landed a little bit more with me, because I don't mind confusing, but this did not do enough explaining. It would like word dump a lot of times, but sometimes it was so out of context that I couldn't retain it. I couldn't quite understand it. But I think that is this book. So I've heard the second book in the series is similar-ish to the first book because they were juniors in this book and they're going to be seniors in the next book. And graduation is like a big bad thing. They have to make it through like a ballroom full of like monsters in order to graduate or something to that notion. And I'm just curious. So I'm gonna move on. I did end up giving it 4 stars, even though it infuriated me so many times. It's just like the weirdest book. Please let me know if you've read this book, what do you think of it? Because it is unique. I'll give it that. Okay, the next book I want to talk about is a 5-star book. It is a very emotionally impacting book. I picked up or downloaded Manacled by Sen Len Yu because of all the alchemized chatter. Like, I was very, very tempted to pick up Alchemized, and I ordered it, so I'm gonna get it, and because I want to support the author. I decided, because I was a little hesitant with just how this book was being described as being dark fantasy, like very dark, trigger warnings, all the things, and because of that, I wanted to really like dip my toes in, and then if it was too much, I was just gonna forget about it. That was kind of how I felt. Like, I was curious enough to try, but I know myself enough that I didn't want to read anything that would traumatize me. So I went with Manacled. 1, because I could just download it. I figured out how to download it. And 2, I know the Harry Potter world, and I know that's a big trigger point for a lot of people. I know. So it's just very nostalgic for me. And I knew the world, and I knew I wouldn't have to learn the magic system and everything like that, and I could just focus on the characters. So this is a Harry Potter fan fiction, which I've never read fan fiction. Like, I had no idea what was going on. I learned a lot in reading this book, just the fact that you can download it, but you cannot buy it. Buying a physical copy is illegal. I've learned a lot. Anyway, but I got a copy and I started reading it, and it is very emotional and it is very long. But I feel like the way the story was told of our present timeline of the good guys have lost the war, Voldemort won, and now they're setting up this repopulation program. So it definitely had the Handmaid's Tale vibes to it, which I haven't read that book, but I know what's going on enough in that book, which actually probably helped me with some of the triggerness of this book, is the fact that I knew it was a Handmaid's Tale inspired storyline. So we have Hermione, who survived the war, and then we have Draco, who is very much a Death Eater, very much involved in Voldemort and the bad guys and all of that. And you have Hermione, and you start from the after the war, and you just learn all these traumatic things. And so the first section is very traumatic, and then it does a lot of flashbacking. And the flashbacking is what won me over with this book, because it went back in time and you had all the characters from the original books, right? And you just played out what it could have happened if things would have just gone a little bit differently. And I loved that, honestly, because I just really enjoyed that story. And then once you get past all those flashbacks and you understand a whole lot more, then you get back to the present day and the story plays out. It's so good. It's so hard to read. And was it what I expected based on going in? Because like I said, I was hesitant to pick this book up or this story, because I know Alchemized is very much this same story, just in a different world, which I love, and I'm going to read that book when I can emotionally handle it. But I really did like the story. It kind of resulted in a little obsessive behavior for me. Like, I feel like I thought about it more than a lot of other books, which I don't like that. I don't like when I think too much about a book, or I can't go to sleep because I'm thinking about a world, because it's just impacted me kind of so emotionally. And it probably is because those characters are associated with my childhood, even though it's not childhood. I shouldn't say childhood because I'm 43. I read the books in my first couple of years of college is when I read those books. So I guess not childhood. I'm too old for that. But they still are just some of my fondest memories of early reading. So 5 stars for Manacled. And I know with all the controversy, I know. But that was just the best decision for me in my mental health. It was to go into this book and then wait and read Alchemized next, which I will. Cannot believe I read like that 1,000-page book in this month when I've also read so many other things. But let me move on, because I'm getting to the stacks of the books that I read in reading vlogs. Let me start with some of the books I read for my 2025 new release vlog. So I read this book, Silver Cloak by L.K. Stevens. I gave this 4.25. I really enjoyed it. What stood out the most to me in this book was the world as well as the stakes, because our main character has to go almost like undercover into the mafia, basically, and kind of take them down from within. But then she develops a friendship relationship with the kingpin's son. Forgot the word. I'm not up on my mafia terms. And I feel like what I like in this book was the setup. Like, it's setting up some really interesting potential directions it could go. The world is really interesting. I really like L.K. Stevens' writing, because I read her young adult Infinite Fates, which she published under Laura Stevens, and I really enjoyed that too. I also read Glorious Rivals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I reread The Grandest Game also this month. This was a fast reread. It was better upon reread, so this is 4.5, but then this I only gave about 3.75, because this series is a spin-off series from the Inheritance games, also written by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. These involve the original characters, but not as much. There is a lot of extra characters and a lot of extra plot threads we're trying to follow. But there's also a game, because this is basically Avery from the first books. She is now playing this game where there's these tickets. It's almost like the golden tickets, where if you get a ticket, you get to be a participant in this year's games. And there's all these like puzzles and clues and rooms with different gears and things that you have to solve. And it's fantastic. Like, the games aspect was fantastic. I think when it got to this book, I was getting a little fatigued on the games, and so maybe doing a back-to-back reading wasn't the best, but it also really helped me with the people, because within this world, we expanded our character list significantly, and so having pre-read this really helped me understand this better, but I still liked the first book more. So I did that book as well as this one, which this is another favorite from the month, and it's The Raven Scholar by Antonio Hodgson. This was a fantastic book. It was so unique and interesting. I feel like it's getting kind of hit or miss reviews. It probably just depends on the main character. If you're okay with our main character of Nima, because Nima is in this world where she is like the high scholar under the current king or ruler, but every 24 years the ruler is reset, basically. There's a series of trials that competitors have to go through in order to figure out who's going to be their new emperor. And there are these different houses, like the House of Monkey, the House of Tiger, the House of Ravens, and they have to put forward a contender. And Nima's involved. I don't want to say too much more than that, because I feel like how this story unfolds is probably one of my favorite things about this story, is to stick with it, because at first I was a little confused and it was a little slow and we hadn't got to what the beginning talks about, which is the fact that there's a murder and Nima is in charge of solving this murder. The twists and reveals I did not see coming, and I am so excited for more books in this series. But again, you can see my whole progress through especially this book in that reading vlog if you are interested. The last set of books I'm going to run through, hopefully somewhat quickly, is the romance books I read for the Romance Project, episode number 2. I'll link it above. It was probably one of the last videos I put out on this channel. I read a number of romance books. I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I really enjoyed it. I initially was looking at this for like a hate to love kind of prompt. I don't think it really was. It's more of a workplace, find yourself sort of book. But I ended up giving it 4 stars. And then I gave Juniper Hill by Devney Perry also 4 stars. So this is the second book in the Eden series. And this follows the brother of Knox. And then Memphis comes into town, this small Montana town, with an 8-week-old baby. She's like restarting her life. She's willing to work as a housekeeper at the Eden's hotel sort of thing, as well as the fact that she is also staying above his garage. And they form a friendship relationship, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this book more than Indigo Ridge, so that was also a 4-star. Oh, I read this book, This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, and I loved it. It was such a good summer read, so I gave this one, I think, 4.5 stars. So it has to do with our main character, Lucy. And Lucy is going to Prince Edward's Island with her friend to just like go to their family home or something like that. And Lucy shows up early, ends up having a one-night stand, and then realizes that that guy was her best friend's little brother who is off limits. And so they make a pact to never do that again, right? But every summer they see each other, something tends to happen. And so we're to like present timeline, and some stuff has happened, some hurt has happened, and they have to work through it. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed their chemistry. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the longevity of the story. That, and then I tried reading a Megan Quinn book, Till Summer Do Us Part. I didn't like it. I liked it at first. It was very laugh out loud funny because it had a silly premise where this woman ended up saying that she was married when she wasn't, so she has to convince her friend's brother to like be her fake husband for this marriage retreat. And it's funny in a lot of ways. Like their fake fights are funny, but a lot of other things I didn't like. So I just DNF'd that book. And then I also picked up The Deal by Elle Kennedy because it's just such a commonly recommended romance book. I didn't think I'd like it because it was sports and college, but it was good. Like it was just a really good story of our main characters of Hannah and, is it Griffin or Garrett? Graham? Something like that. And he needs to convince her to be his tutor in a class just because he's falling behind and he can't do that as an athlete. And so he pesters her enough to help him, and then they form kind of a friendship and a little bit of a fake dating situation where he will pretend that they are dating in order to like increase her like cred, if you will. It was fun. I liked the depth of those characters more than I expected. And that probably is why that book, I think I ended up giving 4.25 stars. And so if I am looking at that list, 15 books, only one of them I gave a 3.75 rounded up to a 4. Everything else was 5 stars or 4 stars. And that's probably why I ended up reading so much, because I just got sucked into all of these stories. I'm sure my reading will slow down come the holidays because I have a lot to do. And I really cannot keep getting sucked into stories like I did in October. But it was fantastic. And so let me know what you think of any of these books that I talked about. Hopefully I'm able to edit this video down because I realize it's going to be a long one. But if you have nothing you necessarily want to say, but you want to let me know you were here, let's do a stack of books for book lovers because this was a pretty good book. That's all I have. I hope you all are well. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. And I will see you in the next video. All right, guys. Take care. Bye.